In this video we want to install our emulator, and installation videos can be a little bit boring, so I try my best to reward you afterwards with some nice features we've got in our emulator. Alright, so therefore let's go. Back at the Ubuntu VM, let's start installing our emulator. But maybe before we do this, let's insert some nice music over here, because an installation video can be super boring, so I try to make this as exciting as possible. There we go. Now we've got nice background music. Alright. To install an emulator, in my opinion, the easiest way is doing this via the Android Studio. So let's open up a terminal and let's go into this path. If you want to start the Android Studio, we have to type this whole path all the time in our terminal. And this is a little bit inconvenient. So therefore, let's create some shortcut for this that we can simply run it via Studio. And then the Android Studio will be started. How can we do this? Well, we can create simply an alias for this whole command. So the alias will replace this whole command. And this can be inserted in our ZSHRC. So we copy the whole path, and then I'm opening the ZSHRC, and we create a new alias. We name this Studio, and then we provide this full path. Every time we type now Studio in our terminal, the whole command will be executed. Alright. To leave Vim, all we need to do is hitting the :WQ, and then we are out of this one. Alright, if we would run this command afterwards, it wouldn't work. So the command Studio would be unknown, because we need to update this ZSHRC first. We can open a new one, or we can simply use source, and then providing this file name, which will update our current terminal with all these commands. Afterwards, we simply start Studio by typing in Studio in our terminal. Alright, and here we can see Studio is being opened. And then we go into more actions and we select Virtual Device Manager. Okay? Oh, what's this? Your CPU does not support requires VTX or SVM. Alright. This means virtualization needs to be enabled in our virtual machine. As mentioned in the beginning, running a virtual machine within a virtual machine, it's not the best performance we will have. But regarding to the emulator, this will work. So we also need to enable a hypervisor for our virtual machine over here. How can we do this? Unfortunately, we have to power it down, so we need to close everything over here. And then we go into virtual machine, settings, and then we drag this to the left, okay? And then within processor and memory, there's an advanced option over here. And here we can enable hypervisor applications in this virtual machine. Alright, by having this checkbox enabled, we can run or we can virtualize another virtual machine in our virtual machine. Okay, exactly what we want to have, at least for this setup right now. So after enabling it, we can start this once again. The system will be booted up, and there we have it. Okay, now we log in, and now we simply open a new terminal and run our command, our alias in Studio. There we have it, and now the Android Studio starts once again. Alright. Then we go into more actions, Virtual Device Manager, and now the error message has been gone. Perfect. We can now create a new device, and here we've got a huge list of possible devices. If we scroll down a little bit, we've got devices like this Pixel 4 over here, and we can say this one has a Play Store enabled. Having a Pixel 4 device as an emulator sounds absolutely amazing, but keep in mind, the more powerful this device is, the more resources it drains. Therefore, I recommend a different device. So the Nexus device, it's not that powerful, which is good regarding to the emulation. And it also has root access as default enabled. So this is definitely our device we want to have. So let's search this. We scroll down a little bit. And here we have it. The Nexus 5 device also has a Play Store enabled and comes with different resolutions. So I take this one over here, the HD version. This is perfectly fine. Hello guys, it's me from the future. So at this point I realized I made a slightly little mistake. Having an emulator image with the Play Store enabled automatically removes the root access. So we are only having root access on those devices which comes not shipped with the Play Store. So my recommendation would be, instead of using this Nexus 5 image, please use the Nexus 6 image, because this device does not come with the Play Store and therefore has automatically root enabled. In case if you do not have a real device, I still recommend getting one emulator image that has the Google Play Store enabled, because the other image, the Nexus 6 image, does not have things like the Play Store or a Chrome browser or things like this. It's not required during this course, but if you want to start your app hacking career, then you might want to have such a device. Alright? To sum this up, during this course, the only device you need is the Nexus 6 image without the Play Store. So I will highlight it over here. You can also get the device with the Play Store, but then you are not having root access. The Google Play Store itself will not be required during this course, so you can perfectly move on with this Nexus 6 device without the Play Store being enabled. I will now move on with the installation process for the Nexus 5 device, but I mean this makes not a difference regarding to the Nexus 6. Nevertheless, please choose Nexus 6. Also in the next video when we talk about the emulator options, there's no difference or it's not device specific, so we can simply move on over here. Alrighty? Okay. So sorry for the confusion over here, but I guess it's not a big deal. Let's simply move on with the installation part. Alrighty, let's go. Okay, and then we click next. Here we have now the system image, so the operating system we want to have on our device. In my case, I'm choosing the RP version 30, which is Android R. But you can also go for the RP version 32, because this course has been designed to work on the most up-to-date versions right now. So therefore you shouldn't encounter any problems. Alright, then the download is being started and, oh, what's this? Low disk space. Alright, I have forgotten to increase the size of our hard disk. So I guess we are running on 20 GB right now. And Android Studio and all these emulators, they require a lot of disk space. So therefore, unfortunately, I have to resize this partition real quick, but that's not a big deal. We simply click this away and unfortunately we have to cancel the current download. Then let's close everything over here and we have to power down the virtual machine once again. Then within virtual machine settings, we now select hard disk and we increase this to, for example, 60 GB. Okay, resize successful, that's good. Now let's start the system once again. The boot process is running right now. Alright, we log in once again. And now we have to resize our partition because our partition is still only 20 GB large, but we've got now 40 more available. To do this, we simply go into the activities and then we are searching for disks. Okay. And here we can see we've gotten free space of 43 GB. So our partition is still only 20 GB, but now by clicking on this one and then going on those settings and resize, we can now adjust those 40 GB on top of our 20 GB. Alright, we have to insert our credentials and also for the second part over here. In settings, resize, and then let's pack everything on top of it. Alright, now we've gotten 64 GB partition. Let's verify this. Opening a new terminal, disk3-h. There we go. We've got now 39 GB of free disk space available. Alright, that's all. Perfect. So now we can move on with our installation. And the good thing is it should immediately start where it did stop. So let's open Android Studio. Once again into more actions, Virtual Device Manager. Create a new device. And please keep in mind choosing the Nexus 6 besides seeing me selecting Nexus 5. And then Android R. And we can see yes, it proceeds where it did stop. I have tested it, it did work for me. So even if the download got cancelled, the system is running and yeah, booting fine. Okay, so let's wait until this download has been finished. Alright, we click on finish and then next. And here we've got now the verify configuration. So we've got our AVD name, the system we have installed and things like this. I like to rename this real quick to Nexus 5 only. Okay, and then I hit the finish button. Perfect, here we have it right now. All we need to do is simply pressing this play button and then the emulator will launch. And here we get this warning. Emulator is running using nested virtualization. This is not recommended. Yes, I agree with this one. I also do not recommend it, but it works. So I have tested it for this virtual machine and this emulator and yeah, we encounter a little bit of a lag, but it works perfectly fine. If you want to have a really nice user experience, then install the Linux system on your host system and then using this emulator directly on your host system. Then you avoid this nested virtualization. Alrighty? Perfect. Okay, let's move on. We simply click OK and then we can close all these other windows. And now starting the emulator the first time might take quite a while. So grab a tea, grab a coffee and yeah, sit back and relax a little bit because The first time the system boots, it takes a few minutes, but afterwards it's just a matter of seconds if you want to reboot it once again. Okay, and here we can see the pixel is starting and we do not have to insert certain accounts or stuff like this. The smartphone is now ready to use. Nice. Alright, and now we are done with the installation part. In the next video we will have a look into those features of this emulator, and we will also perform a little bit more of a setup. So we will create shortcuts that we can easily run this emulator without running Android Studio all the time. Alright, so I'm really looking forward to see you there.